having your hoods turned in. It is obviously a very big trend in cycling right now. And in this video, I'm just going to explain my reasons as to why I don't personally turn in my hoods. I can definitely see how there's lots of benefits to turning your hoods, and I'm also going to go over some of those at the end of the video as well. I've got me my two bikes here. I've got my normal bike and my winter bike here. I've turned in the hoods on this bike, as I just want to show the differences as to why I don't side by side. Let's get into reason number one. The first reason why I actually don't turn in my hoods is because of elbow flare. So when you're riding just in a normal seated position, I find when my hoods are turned in, my elbows start to stick out into this position. And this isn't even an extremely turned in hood, but you can already see I naturally sit like this, kind of Chris Froome style. And to me, in my opinion, I think that this is probably less aerodynamic when you're in a normal relaxed position than when my elbows would be in a more regular position here. Like I said, it's just for me that my elbows tend to stick out. For a lot of other people, they seem to have their hoods in, but their elbows seem to stay in a comfortable position, tucked in a more straight line. But I just feel like I'm a parachute when I'm stuck out here with my elbows. So for a more normal riding position that most people are riding all the times, I think it's probably more aero to have a straighter arm. The next reason why for me is comfort on the hands. So when I have it in my more normal position here, my hand seems to sit more comfortably on here, and I find I get more even pressure through the palm of the hand. However, when it's turned in, I find that most of the pressure starts to sit towards the web of the hand here between the thumb and the first finger. And to me, it's just not very comfortable when I've got all the pressure on there, and a lot tends to sit on the muscle of the thumbs here. However, on this side, I find it's much more evenly spread on the hand. Not only that, between the two, when I have my arms straighter or with the hood straighter, it puts my arms straighter, which means that there's less shrug of the shoulders. However, when I have my hands turned in, the elbows come out and my shoulders tend to shrug when they're on the bike there, and I find just over time it gets uncomfortable. I normally like to ride for kind of like 3 to 6 hours for my weekend rides, and if I'm in that shrug position for over 3 hours, well, it gets very uncomfortable, and I'd much rather be comfortable over those longer rides. The next reason why I don't turn in my hoods is handling. So when you turn in the hoods, it effectively narrows the width of the bars, and having a narrower bar tends to be a little bit less stable on the descents. Now, does it narrow it to a position where it becomes like unsafe or dangerous? Not really. I just personally prefer to maintain a little bit of width for the descents. Now, I know obviously some bars can do this where you get the flare on the drops, so you can use the drops a bit more, but I like to stay on the hoods with my elbows tucked down. I find it's a bit more aero, and I also have more control of the brake lever. But yeah, I find just having that extra width just makes the descents more comfortable and more enjoyable. My final reason why I don't turn the hoods in is the way that it looks. I've got the camera a bit off kilter here to level with the bikes. You can see that the shifters and the brake levers on this bike are very flared outwards and almost too far, whereas on this bike here there's only a very light flare. I've only got these bars turned in very slightly, and there's just a very light flare. It looks quite good, but when they're extra flared and sticking out really far, I don't really like the look of it. It's just a personal style thing. You might love it, but it is what it is. This is how I personally set up my hoods. Like I said, this is just for my setup. You don't have to copy it, but I do actually like it turned in very ever so slightly. It's probably almost hard to see on camera there, but it's not dead straight. It is very slightly turned in, but not almost to a point where you can't tell that they've been turned in. I just find my palms sit most comfortably on there, whereas if they're too far, if they're almost too straight, I tend to tuck my elbow in too much, and I tend to sit on the heel of my hand. Well, you can see where that mark is almost where the weight rests, so a very slight turn in works best for me. Also, a lot of people like this dead flat, but actually I have it, once again, very slightly turned upwards. This is just where I find it most comfortable on my hands and my shoulders. It puts me in the best position, just having that very slight incline on the hoods there. As I said in the intro, I don't think turning in your hoods is a bad thing at all. If it works for you and you're comfortable in that position, then it's probably going to be a lot more aerodynamic. I've explained my reasons why it's not so aero, but one place where it's definitely more aero is when you are in the aero position, I guess. So when you come down with your elbows flat or your forearms straight and you're sitting on top of the hoods here, even for me, my arms and elbows become straight again, and just having that narrower position should definitely make you more aerodynamic. Can't prove it without a wind tunnel, but I think most wind tunnel tests suggest that this is true. Now for me, I can only ride here for like 5 to 10 minutes at a time at most. Otherwise, my triceps, my shoulders are so tired after being tucked into this position. But yeah, essentially it just gives you a much more TT position. It's just bringing you down closer rather than sitting wider out here. It's bringing your arms in front of your body. So I can see how it makes you a lot more aero. I think another major benefit of turning the hoods in is when your bike comes stocked with bars that are way too wide. Companies, you know who you are that do it. I ride a size 58 and they usually come stocked with a 44 wide handlebar and they're ridiculous. And just getting almost like 2 to 4 centimeters pulled inwards to my natural bar width, which I ride a 40 centimeter wide. Any narrower, once again, I tend to start to flare and shrug at the shoulders. But yeah, when they're too wide, I think then turning in the hoods is actually a very good way to narrow the bar width without having to spend a lot of money, or maybe it could be a very good temporary solution until your new bars come. So there it is, guys. There are just my thoughts and my reasons as to why I don't turn in my hoods. If you do and you like it and you're comfortable, good for you. Well, probably lucky for you. You're probably a little bit more aero as well. But let me know your thoughts and opinions, guys. If you have any more questions, I'm always down in the comments below, or you can find me over here on Instagram. I've been Jason. This has been Cycling Unboxed. I'll see you in another video.